We're doing our halacha in depth, modern halacha. We want to talk. We do Shabbat this year, but in honor of the holiday, we're coming to the most auspicious day of history, the day we accepted the Torah. And today the topic is the blessing over the Torah, because it's a fascinating topic. Sharjan, can you get me a Gemara Nadarim from this Paninim set? It's a very important topic, and also we want to have the fascinating question and chidush from Rabbi Ben Sion Abashol, how women could say a blessing on the Torah, because women only are chayiv in naaseh, not in nishma. So we'll dwell right into it. It's very important to understand that the Shulchan Aruch, and I would urge you to look this up, in Orach Chaim, Mishnah Berurah Chelek Aleph, Siman Mem Zayin, says the blessing of the Torah, Sarich li zaher ba me'od. He doesn't write this about any other blessing. He says that Maran says it's very important. One needs to be very, very careful to say the blessings of the Torah with the utmost devotion. Now, why is that? So that's a Gemara in Nedarim. If you look at the Bet Yosef, this is a fascinating topic about Birkat HaMazon, which is from Torah, which we're going to deal with in depth. No other blessing does our master, the Shulchan Aruch, say. We have to be very careful to say it with the proper kavanah. Why here is the Shulchan Aruch saying that we have to be very careful to say the blessing of the Torah? We know every morning, right? So basically, let's review. Tonight is the Rosh Chodesh of Sivan. In 6 days is going to be the holiday of Shavuot, the day we accepted the Torah. Since the Torah is so precious, so Gemara in Brachot says, if on food, which is just something that goes in and comes out, right? It's something that you benefit from, you need to bless. So for sure, the Torah, which is the most, it's our life, Kiem Chayenu V'Arach Yameinu, it's our lifeblood. So why is it so important to be careful to say this blessing with the utmost devotion and attention and meditation? Because there's a Gemara, a lot of people don't know this. It says, Mi ha'ish ha'chacham v'yavin et devar zeh nishal ha'chachamim. The greatest scholars and wise people and sages of the time of the first temple, including Yirmiyah himself, one of the greatest prophets, Jeremiah, they were mesmerized and shocked. They were perplexed. What's the root source of the temple being destroyed? So he says they couldn't get to the answer until Hashem came and said to himself, because you abandoned my Torah and you didn't listen to it. So the Gemara says, the Gemara Nedarim, Bavli, Pei Aleph, 81a, says, of course, if they didn't listen to it, they didn't go follow it. So it says, the reason is, Shelo Barchu B'Torah Tchila, which means,
did they make a bracha before learning Torah?
Exactly. That was the root cause that was the mother of all evil that caused everything to go down the drain. That's why the Shulchan Aruch in the Bet Yosef, that's the source for this halacha in chapter 47 of the Shulchan Aruch. You understand? A lot of people don't know this Gemara. Did you know this Gemara?
No.
The source, that you say, that was just the symptom, the 3 cardinal sins. Right? There's a Bach on this, that I'm a big chassid of the Bach now because of the Yanuka, but you have to understand, after the day we got the Torah, historically, one of the most important days in Jewish history was the day that the Shekhinah came back to the world, was the day we built the temple. So the first temple was an amazing, amazing thing. In a certain way, it was like Torah is it's the place where you could carry out the Torah in perfection. The Bet HaMikdash. There's many, many dozens, probably hundreds upon hundreds of hours we could talk about what the benefits of the Bet HaMikdash was the miracles of the Bet HaMikdash, like we Pirkei Avot.
Yeah.
The Gemara in Nedarim says they learned Torah. Can you imagine this? But since they didn't say the bracha before they learned Torah, which means the Torah wasn't chashiv for them. Harav ben David explained this, by the way. He says, if you look in Mishnah, he says Kenei Chachma. What is it? Why does it always in? And also, every day the Bali Musar, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter says, every day of the Omer, right? Tonight is like the 46th. We have to work on one of the on one of the 48 keys of wisdom. But it's not keys of wisdom. It's Kinyonei Chachma, acquiring wisdom. So basically, my Rebbe, Harav ben David, said an amazing thing, which is important to understand. He says, whatever is important, what do you buy? Whatever you need. What do you show off to everybody? Like a woman, she shows her diamond ring, right? Because this is something that's precious. So it says, throughout the wisdom of Solomon, which was the wisest, Shlomo HaMelech was the wisest of all men, when he never says go learn Torah, he says go acquire. Because just like people are willing to work 80 hours a week to get money, because they know they need it, so it's not enough, which this is the direct explanation of the Shulchan Aruch and the Gemara. It's not enough to learn Torah, but you have to know it's valuable. Without it, you can't live. Just like without money, you're going to die of hunger. That's why it's the Memches Kinyoni HaTorah. So when you don't... So here's the thing. When you take something for granted and you don't bless over it, can you imagine? That caused the Jews to do the 3 cardinal sins. That was just a symptom. And nobody knew this till the Shekhinah itself came in a prophecy and gave it to Yirmiyah. Asher lo barchu b'Torah tchila. Lo halchu ba means they didn't follow the Torah. The Torah wasn't vital enough for them.
So funny you're saying this. I just heard in the shir earlier today.
Yeah.
I was listening to a shir. You were talking about making the bracha.
Yeah. So there's actually, I wanted to also say one other thing that's just appalling, shocking, dreadful, and terrifying, and petrifying. It's truly, it's horrifying. There are 3 blessings we say there. The second part of the shir is going to be Asher Kiddishanu Mitzotav Tzivanu. Blessed are you, God, that commanded us to learn Torah. Right? That's the first blessing. Second blessing is V'ha'erev na. You should make the Torah sweet for us. It should be desirable for us. It should be romantically enticing and lovely and enjoyable for us. And our descendants and their descendants should be, faithful to the Torah and learn the Torah for the right reasons, not for ulterior motives, right? And then the last blessing is the blessing we say before we actually open the real Torah, handwritten Torah on Shabbat and Mondays and Thursdays, Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim, right? So those are the 3 blessings we say. But why did I say this idea is really shocking, appalling, dreadful, terrifying, petrifying, and horrifying? You really have to have a lot of kavanah, like the Shulchan Aruch says, especially in the second bracha. Because I have a personal lawyer that told me he's a direct descendant of the Arizal, but his brother's an atheist.
Barak, no?
Yeah, he said, he actually went as far as to say that when his nephew did suicide, they did cremation on him. So, it's scary to know, who are the Ben Ishchai's descendants? We know where Yisrael Salanter's had kids that went off the derech. We don't know where the Graz kids are, we just said the tefillah of the Shlah, by the way. The whole thing is that you want your descendants to be Torah. So this is it's a crazy thing. It's not enough just to learn Torah, you have to appreciate that the Torah is our oxygen. It is the most vital, important thing. It's much more important. And perhaps there's 2 reasons that the Shulchan Aruch is saying we have to be very meticulous to say it with the utmost kavanah, especially and then sometimes when we wake up early in the morning, we haven't had our coffee and tea, we just gloss over the bracha. It's absolutely wrong. We should sit down, say it, because it's there's no guarantee that your children or grandchildren are going to be B'nai Torah, are going to be even learn Torah. We see even the greatest of the great Gedolim, Now, to go a little bit deeper here, there's a fascinating machlokes rishonim that chaps many nafka mina lahalacha, and that is this Birkat HaTorah that we saw, because the Jews did not say it in the time of the first temple, it destroyed. That was the source. Nobody could figure it out. Not the wise people, not the Nevi'im, until the Shekhinah. It had to come in prophecy. It says Al Shaloi Baruch Hu B'Torah Tchila. So there's a fascinating machlekes. The Rambam only counts one bracha from the Torah. If you look in the Sefer HaMitzvot, and that's grace after meals, Birkat Hamazon. But the Ramban in his Hasagot says, I take issue with that. There's a Gemara in Brachot, Bavli, Chaf Aleph Amud Aleph. It says Amar Rabbi Yehuda Minayin leBirkat. How do we know that you have to say Birkat Torah before we learn Torah? We have to say blessing, right? These blessings that we've been talking about the last 10 minutes, because it says Kishem Hashem Ekra Godel Elokeinu. So the Zohar says every word of the Torah is the name of God. Kol HaTorah Kula is Shemot Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why if one in the Sefer Torah one word is off, the Torah is pasul, because that may be a mystical and hidden name of God. Because all the words of the Torah are the name of God. So it says Kishem Hashem Ekra when we read the Torah, because the Torah is like Yisrael v'Araisa v'Kuchabrichuchadu, and all the Torah are different puzzles of Hashem's unique names. Hashem has infinite names, right? So when you call out to the name Hashem, Havu Godel Eloheinu, give praise to God. Havu Godel Elokeinu means say a bracha on it. So it's actually interesting that the majority of the Rishonim don't hold like the Rambam. So the majority of the Rishonim hold like the Ramban, that Birkat HaTorah is what? Mina Torah. And who are these Rishonim? The Rashba, the Ritva, the Rab Zerachi Halevi, the Rab Yeshaya Miterani, the Rav Yah, the Rashbitz.
How about the Rif, the Rosh?
The Rif and the Rosh, we're not sure. I can't speak to that. But definitely the Rashba and the Ran and the Chinuch. The Chinuch, Sefer Chinuch, which was one of the major Rishonim. He holds that way. One of the greatest Sephardic poskim Achronim, the Pri Chadash holds that way. The Shagas Aryeh holds that way. The Yaivitz, the Chaya Adam.
So it sounds like an overwhelming amount.
Yeah. So So this is very important. Why? So Echabsa Nafkamina La'alacha. We know one of the most cardinal rules in a bracha is if, let's say, you had so many hamburgers, and you had a lot of beer on it. It's July 4th coming up soon, and it was just Memorial Day. You got knocked out. Now you wake up, you don't know if you benched or not. You did Birkat Hamazon. So when in doubt, you have to say it again. So how about in the morning, you hadn't had your coffee, you had a real difficult night last night. You come to shul, you weren't home, you're not sure at home if you said the blessings of Torah. Do you repeat it or not? So the Shulchan Aruch Paskins, because it's clear like that from Orach Chaim Reish, the Shulchan Aruch clearly says the only brachot that we need to repeat is Birkat Hamazon. So according to the Ramban that holds it's from Torah, if you're in doubt where you said Birkat Torah or not, you have to say it again. Just like Birkat Hamazon, right? When in doubt, it's Torah. Safek de Oraita L'chumra, right? But according to who? According to Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, it's clear from the Shulchan Aruch in Reish Tet that he says the only bracha that we're in doubt that you need to repeat is Birkat Hamazon. But the Yalkut Yosef here and Rav Avadia hold that since it is such an important bracha, and actually the majority of Rishonim digress from the Rambam's opinion, they hold it's from Torah, and the Gemara Nedarim is mashma that it's a big deal. If it was only the Rabbanan how could it be that the whole Beit HaMikdash would be destroyed, right? The first temple, which was the apple of God's eye, which the Shlomo Melech built and David, and it was the whole house of Kivyachol B'Tachtonim, right? It's where the Shekhinah was. Could all this thing went down the drain because they didn't say Brachat Torah before? So, I mean, that's a right to the Ramban, parenthetically, right? In the lumdus of it. But anyways, the Sephardic poskim even say that lechatchila, even though we don't, you can't say it, you should go ask your friend, perhaps in shul, if you have time, can you be yotze you, right? That's the appropriate thing to do, right? So let's say you're not sure you did Birkat Torah, since Moshe Shonim holds it as Midaraisa, have your friend be Moitze you, the 3 brachot, and then your Yotze, Shomei Ke'oneh, right?
Yeah.
Just like Kiddush on Friday night, most of the brachot. Another thing you could do is that, the glorious bracha that we say right before Shema, in Shacharit, Ahavat Olam is also Birkat Torah. Even the Ashkenazim hold that once you said Ahavat Olam, you don't repeat it after Shacharit, the 3 Birkat Torah, because you were Yotze with Avas. They call it Avarabba. We call it Ahavat Olam. So that brings us to the, by the way, this that the Chidah also says in Machzik Beracha, again on his commentary on Shulchan Aruch, that even though most Rishonim do hold that Birkat HaTorah is from Torah, because the Chinuch and the Ramban and the Rashba and all those Rishonim, still we hold like Maran. Maran holds like the Rambam, that it's the Rabbanan, so when in doubt, you don't repeat it. Okay? Now this brings us to the third part of our shir. We didn't want to leave the women out. Now there's a fascinating thing to realize in the Torah. The Torah, the Shulchan Aruch writes in the same chapter, Mem Zayin, that women are obligated to say these 3 blessings on the Torah every morning. Nashim, in Halacha Yudalet 14, chapter 47, Halacha 14, he says Nashim. Now, you have to realize the first halacha in the Rambam, Hilchot Talmud Torah, is that women, avadim, are peturim from Talmud Torah. Why? The Kesef Mishnah, which is again the same Shulchan Aruch, he wrote a commentary on the Rambam, Maran the Kesef Mishnah says why. There's a Gemara in Kiddushin, Chavtet, that says clearly what? That you're only obligated to teach your son Torah, right? A father has to do 5 things for his son. He has to give him a brit, he has to teach him Torah, get him married off. You don't have to do this for your daughter, because it says Vishinantam levanecha, and here vanecha means only your son. And the Gemara learns another drasha, Velimadetem otam ushmartem la'asotam. Yalfinan shekol sha'acher mitzuvin lelamdoi mitzuvin lelmed atzvoi. Whoever, your father or your Rebbe has a mitzvah to teach you, you have a mitzvah to learn yourself. Whoever, other people don't have a mitzvah to teach you, don't have a mitzvah to learn yourself. So women are not obligated in the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Parenthetically, the Grozal writes that Talmud Torah is Kiyam Chayenu, the lifeblood for men. For women, that mitzvah is Sniut. They're cardinal and paramount and super mitzvah, right? Talmud Torah is a super mitzvah, right? We could do it every second. That mitzvah is what? That mitzvah is the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. Now, what I wanted to talk to you about is, it's perplexing then. All the acharonim, all the commentators of the Shulchan Aruch say, it doesn't make sense. If women are exempt from the studying of Torah, how could they make 3 blessings on it? Right? If you're exempt from a mitzvah, how could you, it's like, God forbid, you're saying, lying when you say, blessed are you Hashem that commanded us to learn Torah. That's the first bracha that we make every morning on the study of Torah. But women are not commanded. That's a Mefarsh Gemara. V'shinantam levanecha. It's clearly in the oral Torah that women are exempt from the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. So the Bet Yosef brings many different answers. He brings from one of the Rishonim, the Agur, that he says, no, women are. women, especially there's 3 mitzvahs these are the cardinal mitzvahs of the women. That if women are not careful to do them, God forbid, they could die in childbirth, right? Nida, chala, hadlat kaner. So women have to learn. Okay, women are exempt from any mitzvah that's time restraint, like sukkot, like a lulav, etrog, tefillin, any mitzvah that has to do under the boundary of time. Mitzvahs aseh shazman grama, they're potter. But they have their own halachot, that some of their halachot, bedavka, and let's not forget, Torah sivalanu, Moshe Hashem kol ta'amar la beis Yankiv. Hashem first gave the Torah to Bet Yaakov, which were the women, then to Bnei Yisrael. And also it says, the Magen Avram says another pshat. He says because women have to read the Parshat HaTamid that we say, the Korbanot, the Ketoret, and the Parshat Tamid before davening, because it's like Neshalama Parim Safatenu. Women have to be in Korbanot. So now that we can't be in Korbanot, by saying the Parshat, it's like you brought the Korban. So that's part of Torah.
Okay.
So that's one answer the Maran Bet Yosef brings. The problem with Chacham, by the way, this second part of the Shir is based on Or Letzion, Chelek Bet, Perek 4, Halacha Yud. So Chacham Ben Sion, when he wants to go into this, he says some fascinating things. He says, the Gra asked a question on this, answers of the Bet Yosef. The Goyim, he says, 1 second. These answers that are brought down in the Bet Yosef and the Magen Avraham, and let me clarify this so you understand. At the mountain of Sinai, we said Naaseh v'nishma. So Naaseh says we're going to do the Torah, then Nishma, we're going to go understand the reason. Of course, women are obligated in Naaseh because women are also part of the nation of Israel. But they're not obligated in the Nishma. Because Nishma is to go and understand the reason why. You understand? So the Goyen, basically, the problem the Goyen has with these answers in the Bet Yosef and the Magen Avraham is that they have to learn Torah. There's a whole Beit HaLevi by the way, on this, in the drushes, that says a similar question. He says that women need to learn their halachot, that's to do naseh. That's not midin nishma, midin Talmud Torah, just to, okay, if you don't know the halachot of nidah, you can't keep it. But they have no mitzvah to go learn the reasons why Hashem gave the nidah, right? Or the reason, right? That's midin naseh. Of course, all the Jews accepted to carry out the Torah, but it's only to the men and the boys that have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah to engross themselves with the oral Torah to understand the reasoning, right? You should know, really tonight I wanted to go into the sugya of are we allowed to teach Gemara to women? But it would have been way too long because our shir, we try to cap it at half an hour.
Scope, huh?
It's beyond the scope, yeah. The shir would have taken an hour and a half, and this shir is meant to be like half an hour. 25 minutes to half an hour. So hopefully next year at another time. After this year, anyways, we're going to finish doing, we only do Shabbat once every month, so then we'll go more into it. But anyways, so the Goyen says, the Bir Agra has a problem with these answers. The Goyen gives his own fascinating answer. You know what the Goyen says?
What does he say?
He says, Atam hu mishum nashim reshos levarach al mitzvahs aseh shazman grama afa pishenim chayavas vahem. He says, we know that women are allowed to always say the blessing on lulav and etrog, which means women are not commanded to do the mitzvahs that are time restraining, right?
Yeah.
They have a time limit on them. So the same way, women can say, but even though women are not obligated in those mitzvahs of sukkah, right? Or Hallel on the Ashkenazim that say bracha on Hallel, right? Or Sukkah and Lulav, but they could say a bracha if they do it. So same way here. It's true women are not obligated in Talmud Torah, but if they decide to learn, so that's why they're allowed to say the bracha of the Torah. The problem, Chacham Ben Sion says, that's only suffices for who? Ashkenazim. But Sfaradim, do our women say is our minhag to say a bracha on the mitzvah aseh shazman grama? No, Rav Avadia cries about that all the time. Our minhag is that since you're not commanded to do the mitzvah,
Talking about women.
yeah, like sukkah and lulav, they don't say when they sit in the lulav, right? If they voluntarily volunteer to do a mitzvah, they're not obligated to it. The Ashkenazi minhag is to make a bracha, but our minhag is not to. So again, the question comes back, the Gaon's question. So Chacham Ben Sion says a bomb chiddush that it was kedai to be born just to hear this chiddush. The Brisker Rav says the similar chiddush, by the way. I saw in the summary of the Brisker Rav. He says wants to say a bomb chiddush. He says because of the Gaon. He says the Gaon has a very good question, and his answer only applies to Ashkenazim. But according to the Rambam and Maran, that don't make a bracha. So how? So he says a fascinating thing. He says Birkat HaTorah is not Birkat HaMitzvot. It's not like the bracha you say under the chuppah. You know, there's two categories of mitzvahs. There's a category of brachas that we say on a mitzvah. Like every time you put a sisit or tefillin, you say a mitzvah on it. Rabbi Ben Sion Abba Shaul says the bracha of Torah is not a bracha of mitzvah. It's a bracha nenin. It's like ha'etz hanadama and hamotzi. Which means, he says, and I'll read for you verbatim. Look on page Mem Gimel Chelik Bet. Brisker Rav says the same l'chiddush, so it's not, that's the, king of all Lamdonim, the Brisker dynasty. He says that Gam al Hana'at halimud. Since the Torah is so enjoyable, it's enlightening, right? The Gra writes in Shir HaShirim, honestly, the Zohar says this. It's animalistic to just benefit from food. What truly should be joyful and enlightening, the whole Tehillim is this, every other pasuk. Tov li Torah spicha me'al peizav. What the spiritual nourishment that you get from understanding why you're created, right? The nishma of how deep and intricate the commandments of the Torah is, that should really give you enjoyment. So he says that since the Torah, right, and I wanted to say a chidush on this, by the way. He says, since the Torah, it's no worse, just like your body derives awesome benefit when it eats a gishmaka steak, your neshama's having gishmaka benefit from the Torah. It's like spiritual food for the soul. That's what he holds. He says that's why it's like a bracha daneanin. And I wanted to say perhaps that's why we say the second bracha. You should make the Torah sweet, because according to this understanding, if you don't have, right, if you, like medicine that's bitter, you don't make a bracha on it if you eat it. Only sweet medicine. So perhaps we say no, the Torah should always be sweet because it's a bracha nenin. And if God forbid a person has eaten non-kosher or whatever, he has timtum alev, right? He's corrupted. He doesn't have benefit from the Torah. Then it's kind of like a bracha levatara, according to his understanding. And Chacham Ben Sion brings a fascinating raya from this, because you see in the Gemara over there in Brachot Kaf Aleph, he says Amar Rabbi Yochanan. We know that you should make a bracha on Torah after. You see that the Gemara compares and makes the Kal V'chomer from Birkat HaMazon to Birkat HaTorah. But I'm sorry, one is Birkat HaMitzvot, which has different laws. Like, what does apples have to do with oranges? Or watermelons have to do with blueberries? So Chacham Ben Sion brings up, he says, how could the Gemara again says, Birkat HaMazon lefanea, he says, the fact that we have to make a bracha on Torah before, on food before is a kal v'chomer from Birkat HaTorah. Ma mazon she'ein torah lefanav torah la'achav. Mina Torah, we know that the hamotzi is, like we said previously, that's only the Rabbanan. But the Gemara there argues that no, even that should be from the Torah, because we know we have to make a bracha from. So you see that the Gemara is putting Birkat HaMazon, which you're thanking God on benefit for the pleasure, to Birkat HaMazon, to Birkat HaTorah, which is studying, which should be Birkat HaMitzvot. So anyways, this is what Chacham Ben Sion Abba Shaul says, that Um, Rabbi Shmuel over there in the Gemara says an interesting thing. He says, if you bless God on food, which is only trivial, because you only live 70, 80, 90, 100 years, 120 years here, so for sure Torah, which is your vitamins that's going to be eternal, it's your internal nourishment, you for sure should see brute. So again, you see both Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Yechanan, they're making a kal v'chomer, but it has to be in the same package. So that from that, and I'll read for you verbatim what Chacham Ben Sion writes. He says, Al Korchach, Sha'af Birkat Torah, Birkat Ne'enim. That's why the Gemara makes a kal v'chomer, and it compares them. But he says, according to this, it's problematic. How could you say v'sivanu?
According to what it's problematic?
Even according to his understanding, Chacham Ben Sion's understanding that Birkat Torah is like same thing as Birkat Hamazon. You're blessing. So according to this understanding, let's clarify this. The Brisker Rav and Chacham Ben Sion are saying, when you make these three blessings every morning on the Torah, just like when you have a cup of coffee, it's refreshing. It's on the benefit of it, on the enjoyment of it, that it nourishes you. You're making a blessing. That's Birkat Torah is the same category.
It's the same category of nani and
yeah, because you're having nourishment from it. That's giving you spiritual nourishment.
spiritual.
But the problem with this is, how could you say v'sivanu? V'sivanu doesn't make sense, because you say you commanded us. That's asher kiddishanu tzotah v'sivanu is always on birkat mitzvot.
Okay, not birkat nani.
Not birkat nani. So again, it's a little bit problematic. You understand? Okay, it makes sense. Okay, Torah is very enjoyable. It's more enjoyable than all the King David in Tehillim 19 says the most precious honey and sweets and right, and all the gold and silver in the world. It's more valuable, and nothing could come close to it because it's eternal and it's. But this, in the end of the day, we have to be to thyself be true. We have to have integrity. To V'sivanu is always going on something that is birkat hamitzvot, like lulav, etrog, netilat yadayim, asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, al netilat yadayim. So he says that. So he wants to answer this question like this. He says it could be that the reason why we say v'sivanu on Torah is that sheisha eno yechola levarach al mitzvah. He says that the Sfaradim go like the Rambam. We have a minhag that we don't say a bracha on lulav and etrog for women and sukkah mitzvahs that are time bound mitzvahs. That's only on birkat hamitzvot. But according to this understanding that this is birkat hane'enim, right? It's in the category of birkat hamazon and shahakol and hamotzi limud Torah. Perhaps that women do have. Again, you understand? You're holding cup. He's saying this is a lam d'shazak. It's coming out of that category. So the fact that Sephardic women have a minhag not to say bracha on asher kiddishanu b'tzotav v'tzivanu, that's only on birkat hamizvot. So, but this, since it's like birkat hamazon, birkat hane'anin, Sephardic women can say. That's why it's very. He holds. Chacham Ben Sion holds. Women don't have to say this bracha.
Oh, they don't have to.
Yeah, look what he writes. Nashim yecholot levarech birkat hamazon. Now let's see the lashon of Maran. See, again, this becomes a little bit problematic because the Shulchan Aruch says that nashim mevarchot. So from him it's more mashma that he brings another idea that says also you have to understand. There's a Gemara. I said this actually at your mother's memorial when we had it in my shul. I said the Gemara says Nasha b'mai zachyan. How do women go to Olam Haba? Because they also, it's true that they themselves don't have to study Torah, but they facilitate the study of Torah by staying up and cooking for their husbands and bringing their children to yeshiva.
Nashim tzadkaniyas.
Exactly. So you see the Gemara in Sota Daf Chaf Aleph says that since they support Torah, they feed their husbands, they bring their children to yeshiva, right? They're part of the system's not going to work. If a woman's not supporting her husband, the world is not going to function. So they get the same reward. So that's another answer he gives. He says, since they get an equal reward according to the Gemara Sota, because they also are investing in Torah, It's kind of like, okay, they're not like the frontline soldiers of the IDF that are actually shooting the thing, but they're like the nurses, right? Right? So they're all, because the Torah is our only antidote to the Yetzer Hara. So they're also participating, supporting Torah. So that could be another reason. Hashem should help us. Bottom line is that we should be spaced in the mornings. Say the 3 brachot every morning with the utmost devotion and kavana, and to realize that Hashem gave us the most precious gift that is more precious than life itself. Without it, we're like a human being without oxygen and a fish without water.